What is up? What is going on, everybody? We thought we were going to have just a chill Saturday, but the Seattle Mariners went ahead and made a trade. So I am going to break it down for you guys. Before I do, shameless plug time. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and please hit the like button. It just helps support the channel a lot. So you just want to support my channel and help it grow. Hitting the like button helps tremendously. The Mariners have acquired reliever Gregory Santos from the Chicago White Sox in exchange for reliever Prelander Berroa, outfielder Zach DeLoach, and the 69th pick in the upcoming MLB draft. You know what? Let me just confirm. Is it in the upcoming MLB draft? I probably should have checked that out. Let me check Jeff Passan. He's always got it. Let me see here. It is, 69th pick in the 2024 MLB draft. I assumed it was, but I'm like, you know what? Maybe it was a future draft pick. So let me just check on that. Gregory Santos is absolutely filthy nasty. He is a really, really good relief pitcher. I'll go over all the numbers in a minute here. Essentially, last year was his first full year in the big leagues at age 23. He's essentially locked up until 2029. So you've got this guy for a long time. Absolutely elite reliever. We'll pull up his Savant page. We'll go over I'll go over all the numbers, but an absolutely fantastic reliever. And we talked about it a little bit, right? With the Mariners trading Sewald, Swanson, Topa, the bullpen has gotten a little bit better. Love Brash and Munoz, like Gabe Spire, Saucedo's solid, but there's some guys that could take a step back this year. So to add a guy like Santos to go with Munoz and Brash, my gosh, not only do the Mariners have arguably one of the best rotations in baseball, those three guys at the back end of your bullpen, it does not get any nastier than that. You've got three options to close baseball games, three guys now that can come into situations like bases loaded, one out in the sixth inning. And, without Santos, you're kind of looking at it going, okay, Brash, Munoz, but then we got to get to the seventh, eighth, ninth inning. So who do we use? Now you can use one of those guys earlier because you've got the other two waiting in the wings. And I know some people are probably like, Jay, don't you always say, hey, I'm okay with trading relievers for guys and making deals? And I am. If somehow the season bombs, Santos is going to have a ton of trade value at the deadline. You can make a move there. I hope not. I don't think this team's going to bomb, but that's definitely possible. Listen, I'm not against adding relievers. I'm not saying my point is never to say that you should just give away relievers for nothing. But if you can get an everyday position player like a Jorge Polanco, then yeah, I'm okay with throwing in a reliever or two for that. Let's talk a little bit about the Mariners gave up, and then I'll dive a little bit more into Santos himself and some of the numbers, and we'll pull up the Savant page because it is a thing of beauty. Listen, Prelander Berroa, again, best case scenario for Prelander Berroa would be he turns in to Santos. Like that would be his absolutely highest possible upside. So Santos is, you've got the deli sandwich made. Here it is. Go ahead and eat it. Do you want the ingredients and you can make it yourself? And maybe it turns out as good as I'm talking like, old school New York Italian deli here. Or here's the ingredients and you go make it yourself. And maybe it turns out as good as the deli. Now, listen, if you want to make it yourself, fine, but that's kind of Prelander Berroa. And that's even not a great analogy. Maybe I'm just hungry, but because you have the ingredients so you can make that sandwich. I'm not, like I'm saying, the best case scenario for Prelander with Berroa would be to be Gregory Santos. So I can't really get mad at trading someone like that for Santos. DeLoach, yeah, it stings a little bit, but even there, I don't think he was going to have a spot on the roster. He's 25. Like, this isn't a 21-year-old superstar prospect. DeLoach was the 25th prospect in the system. That's replaceable. That is 100% replaceable. I think Zach DeLoach could be a nice player. I think he could definitely hit in Chicago and guaranteed. Is it still guaranteed rate? I'm not even sure what the White Sox name's called anymore. I don't think it is. It's some weird name, but I think he can absolutely have success and hit there. But again, I'm just not like, this isn't like a Julio Rodriguez level prospect or anything like that. So I like DeLoach, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. And the 69th pick in the draft for 2024, I mean, again, yeah, that's something. Like DeLoach and the 69th pick are not nothing. I want to be clear on that because I always try to be fair and look at both sides. DeLoach could have been a really good player. Talked about that with Gabby Gonzalez in the trade. That 69th pick could be someone very valuable, but that pick isn't going to contribute until what? 2026, 2027. I just can't get too up in arms about that. Like in football, it's a little more important. Draft picks contribute right away. Baseball, not as much. At best, maybe somewhere in 2025, but even that would be, it'd probably be 2026 at earliest. So Berroa fine, because like I said, best case scenario is Berroa becomes Santos. DeLoach, I like, but 25 hasn't made his big league debut yet. Wasn't going to break through on the roster this year. Not sure how good a defender he's going to be. I think he can hit in Chicago, but there's some holes. There's some strikeout stuff. I like DeLoach, but I could see kind of a Taylor Trammell trajectory there. And the 69th pick, again, like could be something, but if Santos was like a free agent after this year, I'd be a little bit more like, yeah, those things bother me. But this is a guy you could have, like I said, on this team till 2029. So let's talk a little bit about Santos. Pitched 66 innings last year, essentially his first, actually not essentially, it was his first full season in the big leagues. He had a couple cups of coffee with San Francisco, but nothing major. 2.65 FIP last year, 3.31 xFIP, and he was worth 1.6 wins above replacement level, which is really, really good for reliever. WAR is not the best stat to use, in my opinion, for relievers, just because they can only have so much impact on the game. But 1.6 WAR is really, really good for reliever. Just for reference, Andres Munoz in 2022, you remember how good Munoz was that year, the year the Mariners went to the playoffs. He was worth 1.9 wins above replacement level. So essentially a guy that was as valuable, as 2022 Andres Munoz coming into this bullpen. 66 strikeouts last year, 17 walks for Santos, and only allowed 2 home runs. I really love that number for a reliever, because the one thing you worry about with relievers is just a lot of them throw hard nowadays, right? So they're supplying the power when they're pitching, and some of them can be susceptible to long ball. It's the last thing you want, right? In the 9th inning, you're up 4-3. Maybe a guy gets on base for a little dinky hit that goes 10 feet, and then the next guy hits a bomb. It's always in the back of your mind with closers and relievers, right? I think, especially as Mariner fans, we've seen it plenty of times in our lives. But the fact that Santos just doesn't give up home runs is absolutely, absolutely huge. And if you don't want the numbers, just go to YouTube and pull up some clips on Santos. The stuff is absolutely filthy. So let's pull up his Savant page here real quick, if I can do that, because it is a very beautiful Savant page. So like I've always told you guys, if you're new, blue is bad, gray is in the middle, and red is really, really good. So as you can see, Gregory Santos, really, really good. His expected ERA was about where it was. It ended up being 3.39. It was about 3.16. Expected batting average, about average. Fastball velo, 98.8. So he's throwing hard, up in the 98th percentile. Chase rate. So guys are chasing after pitches, so they're not just watching pitches go by. When they do chase, they're missing at it. The whiff rate is high. The K rate is, and this is just last year, I do think that would go up a little bit. When you look at that chase and whiff number, and then, you look at those two things, and then the lack of walks, that was what I was looking for. You would expect the Ks to be higher. I do wonder if the Ks are a little bit lower because the ground balls are so high. I know it sounds weird, but he's willing to let guys put the ball in play because he's absolutely elite, 87th percentile at getting ground balls. And, strikeouts and ground balls are what it's all about, right? Because they can't, strikeouts, excuse me, let me back up a little bit. Strikeouts and ground balls are what it's all about. Ground balls, the worst that's going to happen on a ground ball is a seeing eye single, for the most part. So if you want to get to Santos, he only gave up 2 home runs last year. You are going to have to paper cut him to death. Now we saw that happen a little bit with Matt Brash last year. Sometimes the BABIP was insane and he did get paper cut to death a little bit, but eventually that stuff will even out. Keep the ball on the ground, throw strikes, don't walk people is a very good recipe. Hard hit rate, he's not getting hit hard. Nobody's barreling this guy up the 100th percentile for barrel rate. So we talk about like, Teoscar Hernandez as a hitter had a great barrel rate. Santos ain't giving up any barrels. He is one of the best in the league at that. He doesn't walk people, 85th percentile for walk rate. So I imagine the K is a little bit lower because of the ground ball. I'm going to take a shot in the dark. I don't know his profile too well. Sinker 43% of the time, slider, sinker. So the slider is probably where the chase and whiff come from, and the sinker is getting pounded into the ground for double plays and ground out. So, and the strikeout, the K percentage is even bad. It's just average. And again, I would be more worried about that K number if like the ground ball rate, if the walks were lower and the ground ball rate was really low, then it might be something to be like, ooh, where's that coming from? But it tells me that he's willing to pitch to contact, get the ball on the ground, get double plays, and get out of innings. So, I could stare at that Savant page all day. That is like an Andres Munoz Savant page, essentially, from like 22. In fact, let me pull up Munoz's 22 Savant page. I can pull up Munoz's Savant page last year is probably outstanding as well. So there's Munoz. The walks were a little bit higher, but let's pull up 22 because that was kind of his like elite season. That's 19, 21, and I'll pause it at 22. Munoz's Ks were elite. So you see how good Munoz was, a little bit better, but you see where Santos is close on a lot of these. This is now, let me pull Santos's page back up just so you can all admire it for a little bit. This is a bullpen now, like I said, Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, Gregory Santos. You've got the lefty with Gabe Spire. I'm not putting Spire quite in those guys category yet. But man, that might be the best back end three in baseball. That is absolutely elite. And it's great too, because like, listen, Brash is relievers but every player in baseball goes through this. You're going to have a couple weeks where you're just a little bit off. So when Brash is a little bit off, you've still got Munoz and Santos. When Santos maybe a little bit off, you got Munoz, Brash. I don't need to go through all the scenarios there, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Like I said, have an elite starting rotation. Don't need to go over the names. You know it. You've got an offense that, I don't think is like elite, should be pretty solid with the additions of Polanco. If you can get that bounce back from Haniger, Luke Rayleigh's added, maybe Ty France improves a little bit. The offense should be good enough. Like there's enough guys there, Julio, Dumper, that can carry it. Again, I don't expect it to be elite, but I think it could be top 12, top 13. Maybe I'm being too optimistic there. And then you've got a bullpen now that's got three absolutely ridiculous arms on the back end with Santos, Brash, and Munoz. And the other guys now, it helps the rest of the bullpen. Everybody else slides back a little bit. Gabe Spire, Taylor Saucedo, Trent Thornton, Edward Bizzardo, whoever else ends up making the team. I wouldn't mind them signing someone like Jacob Junis or something. Could be a swingman, 6-starter reliever, someone like that. Maybe they'll sign someone like that. We'll see. Now everybody else in that pen takes a step back and the bullpen looks really, really good. Again, I don't think the Mariners like fleeced the White Sox here necessarily. Berroa is an interesting piece that I think can help the White Sox. I think DeLoach with the right coaching, maybe cut down some of the strikeout stuff, can be decent. And that 69th pick, 68th, 69th, whatever, could turn into something valuable. So I don't think this is like, oh my God, they robbed the White Sox, but it doesn't have to be a win for the Mariners. The last thing I'll say on this is, again, the 2024 Mariners just got better without costing anything from the 2024 Mariners. We've talked about that a lot. That was kind of my issue with, are they going to trade Luis Castillo to go end up signing Blake Snell? And it's like, you're doing all this stuff here, and how much better do you come ahead in 2024? But the trades the Mariners have made, in my eyes, have not cost them much for this season. Robbie Ray wasn't more than likely going to pitch in 2024. He may come back at the end of the year. So you're getting decent value there. Caballero probably could have contributed, but I'll take Luke Rayleigh. The Polanco trade, Topa cuts in a little bit, but the odds of Topa being anywhere near as valuable in terms of, WAR and stuff like that as Polanco, very, very slim. And the same thing here. I don't think you're going to see much from Zach DeLoach. I think Prelander Berroa could have helped the bullpen, and I think he would have been an arm that would have made the team. But again, what's his best case scenario? Like, this would be like unbelievable if Berroa turned into Gregory Santos. Maybe he does. And if he does, fine. Whatever. But Santos is already there. And then the draft pick's the draft pick. Like, yeah, I'd love to keep it, but it's not someone we're going to see for a few years anyways. And I'm not trying to like dismiss things down the road. The future matters as well. But a lot of people's beef with this team at the deadline last year was like, they didn't make a move like this, right? They didn't trade some of their more, I feel bad calling Berroa and DeLoach mid-level prospects, but guys that weren't the top end, but still have value. They didn't trade any of those guys to make the team a little bit better in August, September last year, and that was a lot of people's beef that they could have traded a Gonzalez or a DeLoach or someone like that and gotten, pieces out of it. And now you've got Polanco and you've got Gregory Santos out of it. So they're doing those moves. They could have easily just sat back and said, the bullpen's fine. And it might have been, but you add an arm like this, an elite upside arm that can really, really help. Will really help this bullpen. So I respect that they went out and added a little somebody to it. I'm not going to lie. As much as I'm like, oh yeah, trade relievers, I was a little bit worried with the loss of Topa. I know Seawald was last year and Swanson a year ago as well, but it was just, kind of like, how much icing can you take off the cake before it does taste? I'm making a lot of food analogies today. Maybe I am hungry. Can you take off the cake before it does start to lose a little bit of its luster? Kind of what they're doing with the bullpen. Now they've taken icing off the cake and turned it into a very nice, steak or some mashed baked potato and a grilled asparagus, which is the main meal, what you want. But now they put a little bit of that icing back on the bowl. I don't know. That's the weirdest analogy I can think of, but I like the trade. I'm absolutely fine with it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Remember to hit subscribe, hit the like button. This bullpen's going to be nasty on the back end with Brash, Munoz, and Santos, along with this rotation. The Mariners are going to be very, very good at run prevention in 2024, and just hope the offense is good enough to elevate it to what we hope this team can be. So, if you're not sure about the trade, just stare at that lovely Savant page of Santos. Again, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys all next time. Go Mariners. Peace.